Hey, what's going on? So let's talk about something. So me and my wife was having a conversation based off of her being trapped in a room where she had to watch CNN, and we have not watched um, mainstream media like that for any amount of time in a long time because of the constant fuckery and foolishness, right? Um, CNN, MSNBC, file, you put them all together, fuck them, right? Um, and so she brought up the fact that she was watching or forced to watch or forced to listen to while doing her job Smirkanish. My wife works in hospitals, and so Smirkanish had a number of guests on, and the thing is that with each guest there was no difference in the conversation. No matter what the guests felt, which side of it they felt, Smirkanish still came around with, "Hey, everybody should get a vaccine, right?" Like, even in making the point that vaccinated people are spreading COVID as well, because it's the truth. Like, there's just no way around it, right? But you still got to get the vaccine, right? And this is not a conversation of being whether you should be anti-vax or vax. I don't give a fuck. You do what you do. But at the end of every sentence or statement with whatever guest, his end point was, but everybody should still get vaccinated, right? Even if he is saying that at that time, stating statistics that show that vaccination, people who are vaccinated are still likely to spread the Delta variant shit, right? And she was like, what the hell is that? And I was like, it's marketing. Because here's the deal. The point is that they say it over and over and over and over and over again. And because of the environment that we are in, and depending on which side you are on, let's just say you were on the side of either not knowing, unsure, or yes, you are all in, you hear it enough times, you're going to just go with it, right? But the point is that it's marketing. This is all marketing. News is marketing. And so our conversation went into the direction of where we find ourselves now as far as media. And this is the main point I want to get to, not so much the vaccination stuff. What we have now, and this is not anything that you probably don't know or don't feel, right? What we have now is a wrestling event. And so you have the good guys and you have the bad guy, and we're all emotionally invested in it. Not like policy-wise, not newsworthy story-wise, not like care for what's actually going on and how can we actually change it. No, we are emotionally invested in it as if it was, Wyatt Earp or whatever that show is, or for me, He-Man, like, you've got He-Man, the Master of the Universe, which is the mainstream media and the ruling faction, and then you have everyone else who doesn't agree with that, who is Republicans, independents, anybody leftists who don't go along with the establishment leftists, everybody, everything, as you know what I'm saying, it doesn't fit into the controlling narrative. Well, all you motherfuckers are down with Snake Mountain and Skeletor, right? That's why they built this whole thing, and they accomplished this how? I want to submit to you that when with the election of Trump, the rise of Trump, and this is not to pin anything on him, but more so to use him to guide us through the story, right, as an anchor. The election of Trump, the media saw that he did something that no other politician did, and he did it effectively. He brought in your reality show brain cells, right? That portion of your mind, that portion of the person who the person's brain that's like into just watching TV shows and reality shows, and this is why you don't give a fuck about politics. It's not entertaining, But Trump brought in this taste of entertainment. He interjected entertainment into politics. And you would never seen that before. Like there were certain, you know, personalities that were like, oh man, that guy's good, or that woman's funny, or that congressman, or whatever. But not in the way that Trump did, right? He said things that were off the cuff. He said crazy things. He said the things that you know it to be true and that you're thinking in the back of your mind and that the politicians know to be true, but they're just not saying to you. He said it and he never apologized. These things you already know, right? And so the media kept their eyes on them and they focused on them and they saw like crazy ratings from it. They made crazy money. I don't care what they tell you. I said it before, I say it again. No matter how they pretend to not like this dude or hate this dude or pretend like this dude is the worst person in the world, even as well as the parties, they know that that he was able to control and command the public attention. And that's what's important when it comes to media, right? Your attention, social media, your attention, your interaction. And he brought it in, whether you hated him, loved him, was afraid of him for, you know, tweety fingers, whatever, he's able to do that. And where in the past they had, you know, left and right, because it's always got to be a team thing, you know, where in the past they had left and right and, you know, Republican versus Democrat, leftist versus right, conservative, that dragnet only picked up a few, right? Because you had to care about politics, at least in some way, form, or fashion. But with Trump bringing in this aspect of entertainment, like daytime and sitcom and TV drama, you know, entertainment, you know what I'm saying? Wrestling, entertainment, football, sports, entertainment, root for a team, hate the other side, you know what I'm saying? He brought that in a way that is just, you cannot challenge it, right? And so they amplified it. They amplified it. So I want to make the point to you that this is based on that conversation, my wife and I. In the past, you had different like viral outbreaks. My wife brought up bird flu, for instance, and she was like, "It wasn't like this then." And I was like, "No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was not like this then, right?" Consider that. Those of you who are old enough to remember, think back on some of those older viral moments, right? Not viral online, viral like disease viral, right? Like, you know, bird flu and SARS and shit, right? And flu. Oh, remember the flus, the crazy flus, right? It was never like this. You would hear talk about the anti-vax thing, but that was only in so much as when you're dealing with kids going back to school and whether parents will get their kids vaccinated for the flu because school's coming back around, right? And it never took on a life of its own, whereas it was something that you would use to distinguish good portions of society from the bad portions of society, right? Where did that come about? How is that possible? To find anything close, you got to go back to what everyone's talking about. The McCarthyism, all the independent media right now, they're using that as the contrast. But I say to you, McCarthyism, as bad as it was, no, there's something far worse. There's something far worse than that. Something far more deliberate, something that is far more effective. They were able to bring about the good guy, bad guy, G.I. Joe versus Cobra, Thundercats versus Mumra, Quicksilver and the Silverhawks versus Monstar. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, Jim and the Holograms versus the Misfits. You know what I'm saying? Like that stuff, right? Like, again, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe versus Skeletor and the Evil Horde or whatever. And they use this in every way, form, shape, or fashion. In the end, they turn you against your neighbor, all for like some dollars. Think about the fact that you can't even have a conversation. Like, I listened to this show. One of my daily routine radio political shows I listen to, right? Called The Backstory. And he had on this guy. I'm not going to get into the name because I don't want to overcomplicate the matter. But he was talking about the Black Power movement, the guest, and he was saying some things that were pissing me off. But it wasn't so horrible, even though it was horrible. It wasn't so horrible that it triggered within me this uncontrollable urge to flip the fuck out. Nor did it do that for the guests. I mean, guests will call in and they'll make their points and they'll have their feelings, right? But in contrast to that, when you bring on a guest talking about this corona stuff, this COVID stuff, God damn it, if you say one thing that the other person has to agree with, whether it be, because let's be fair about this. Like, for instance, I am more open to the information that's to contrast to the public, the main narrative, right? I am open to, based off information that I've seen and studied and researched and just been exposed to, questions about the vaccine, questions about the virus, questions about the complications attached to the vaccines, questions about the how deadly and how dangerous this thing is, right? And I'm not jumping down a path of whether I am right or you are wrong or any of that. I'm just saying that that's where I fall on the table, right? And I find I fancy myself as a pretty open-minded person, but let's keep it 100. When I'm watching something and I'm hearing people talk about these things and oh, you gotta go and get the vaccine, and this is the pandemic of the unvaccinated, which is the new meme. That's a meme. That's a narrative, because that makes no sense. You dig what I'm saying? But that's not the argument for this time. It triggers me. Like, let's keep it 100. I gotta own my shit, right? It triggers me, and I'm like, oh, wait, hold on, those facts aren't right. What are they talking about? What is he saying? Is it this, that, and the third percentage, and that percentage? And I go and I fucking start running numbers. Even if I'm working on some art, I have to stop and I listen. I tune in, and I just want to correct it. And I gotta go look at myself. It triggers me. That's triggering. Like, I don't care how much I make fun of people that get triggered because of spoilers and shit like that, and think that's so stupid. That's a stupid trigger on my part, right? Because the argument has been made such that there are these dividing lines, and it's more than just whether it's about medicine, more than just about how you're gonna treat it or deal with it. No, man, it's about what they are saying about you, depending on which side of the line you fall on, and respectively. If you're on the other side of the table, right, and you're all about like getting vaccinated and everybody's dropping dead. If you get COVID, you're gonna drop dead, right? You know what I'm saying? Because there are people like that, right? That's the other side, right? And if you hear someone saying, "Hey, man, vaccines don't work," oh, you're like, "Oh, freaking, what the fuck are you talking about? Vaccines don't work. Of course they work." Blah 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 blah. Right? You get triggered. Why? People say, "Oh, because this thing is killing their people. Cancer's killing people. Wars are killing people." You dig what I'm saying? Like, people are dying. Poverty arguably is killing more people than any of this stuff, right? Why do you get triggered by it like that? Why is it why do you become so aggressive that if a person's not wearing a mask, you flip out? Or if you're asked to put on a mask, you flip out. Why? Because they've taken this conversation, told you that they're conducting this conversation through the means of science, whether science for this side or that side. Technically, it's, the scientism-isms. I call it the Church of Scientism-isms, right? Because it's not really. If it's science, then you're looking at all of the data, right? And it's not just, it's science. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at the research. You're hearing all the arguments on it. You're making sensible judgments based on that. And if you're not doing that, it's not about the science, it's about the narrative and the manipulation that lays behind that, right? But and so they've taken that and they've injected it with your favorite TV show, your favorite football team, and your most hated football team. So, like, remember like a few years back when the Falcons went to the Super Bowl and they were playing the Patriots. God damn it, they were doing good. They were doing good, but that them damn Patriots, right? And to this day, them scars run deep. And I'm not even a sports fan like that, really. But I'm from Atlanta, and the Falcons were getting rid. They were in the. I've been waiting for this, right? Ever since basic training, when this is back in the '90s, late '90s, when the Falcons went to the Super Bowl, and we had Deion Sanders in them, and they was running it up, and just screw it. But the point is, these things you take personally, right? And because you've chosen your teams in those things. your favorite TV show, when you're watching your favorite TV show or your favorite movie, and you know you're emotionally invested, and the bad guy pops up, and it seems like the bad guy is winning all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? And Infinity War. You know what I'm saying? It's Infinity War. It's all Infinity War. So, you know, they snap. And now everybody you love is gone in the movie, right? And you're like, no. And then they end it like that. Like, what the fuck? You end it like that? And I gotta wait a year now? You are emotionally invested. So when you are watching CNN and MSNBC and Fox News and all of these things, and you think that you're just dealing with the news and the topics of the day, and you fancy yourself as just a political person and you're just keeping up with the politics. You're not. You're not. Even if you are, you're not. You're caught up in Infinity War. You're caught up in a media production that has its antagonists, protagonists, and most importantly, products to sell. You see what I'm saying? And that's why we get so emotional over it. No, it's not about the people that, I mean, yeah, at some levels, about people that's dying, but let's keep it 100. Search yourself, young Jedi. You know this to be true. Like, deep in your core, think about all the people that are dying. Why are we just now getting out of Afghanistan? Why are we still in Iraq? Why are we doing the things that we are doing in places like Africa? Why are we suppressing and crushing these different countries with sanctions and things like that? And people are dying. Think about the war in Yemen that old man Biden said that we would no longer be supporting, but yet we are still supporting. All those deaths and children that are dying. You're not flipping out on people about that. I mean, really activist political people are. But just on average, when you walk to the store and you look at a person and you want to spit because you're like, yeah, is it ever because I bet he's on board with letting us kill people in Yemen? No, not at all. No, it's because they ain't got a mask on. You're not sick, they're not sick. They ain't got a mask on, you got a mask on. Or flip it. You ain't got a mask on, they got a mask on, and you just want to spit because they got a mask on. That's Infinity War, man. That's Infinity War. So, where does that leave us? Because in the midst of these things, in the midst of selling you COVID pandemic Infinity War, they are snatching away, grabbing so much power, locking down so much of our rights. And I ain't talking about your right to wear a mask or not wear a mask, or you know what I'm saying? That's a part of it. Your right to get a vaccine, not get, that's a part of it. But Apple just announced that they're going to have software that's going to be looking at pictures in your phone. And, you know, cynically, we are like, oh, they're already going through our phones. But they've announced it. They've said it, right? We're on the tail end of a pandemic where, think about this. We just passed the point where we talk about 2 million people being kicked out of their homes, right? 2 million people being kicked out of their homes. Now, the argument that you get into is, because this is how pandemic Infinity War flips it for you. The argument you get into is either the lines you draw, you know, Snake Mountain versus Grayskull. Poor people and these people are struggling and they shouldn't have to be kicked out of their homes. Or Grayskull, the landlords, they have to pay their rent too, and they shouldn't be stopped from having to make their money and, you know, take care of their family too. That's what the argument is, right? But consider this. Your government is taking your money, your tax money, all the time, taking your tax money, right? Giving it to themselves and their friends. And you got billionaires that went to like the outer atmosphere for billions of dollars. And at that same time, they have you fighting over whether or not there's unemployment for people who got laid off of their jobs or lost their jobs, whether it's Walmart or working as a doctor or whatever the case is, due to a lockdown that they put in place, but then didn't want to take care of the economy. You have people who have lost their businesses. You drive through these neighborhoods and you drive through these areas and you have like whole plazas that are just empty. Those businesses are never coming back. We just passed the point where 2 million people were supposed to get kicked out of their homes. They did nothing. The only reason why they did something supposedly, right, is because you had a young upstart congresswoman who knew what it felt like to be homeless. Meaning one of us, you too, if you work for your money, you too. If you work for your money and you don't just got billions kicking it, you know what I'm saying, and you ain't never ever tasted desperation or hungry and never heard your stomach growl, I'm talking about you too. I don't give a fuck if you live in a gated community, right? Only because that young congresswoman, right, slept on the steps of a Capitol where we just recently had people rioting. You can call it what you want to call it. I want to call it rioting because of their loss. That's the only reason that our president did anything about the evictions. Other than that, 2 million people would have been evicted. And make no mistake, some of those evictions did go through. Plenty of people before that, leading up to that, have lost their homes. They did nothing. And the most that they did was extended it for 90 days. Was it 90 days? No thought as to what they're going to, in the back of your mind, you accept that, they're going to do something. I mean, they got to do something. Why they got to do something? Consider, they just didn't do nothing. You just saw it. Like, everybody, yay, Corey, yay, yay. And yes, Corey, congratulations. But, and yay, saved the people that got saved. But we passed that landmark with nothing done. There was no policy put in place. Nothing. And they're not doing anything. You see what I'm saying? But they got you fighting with me over whether or not I do or do not wear a mask, and telling me that it's about saving lives. They have 2 million people at some point getting kicked out. They have our economy in the shit. They have given so much money to these investment firms. They are buying up whole neighborhoods to the point they ain't even got to buy your house anymore. They're building rentals. They're building rental communities, neighborhoods of houses to rent. They have bought up all of the pre-owned cars and stuff, right? So all the rental cars, all of this stuff, and you may say, "Oh man, oh Brave, you're just exaggerating. You're driving. You're being a reactionist. You're being an extremist." No, bruh, go take a look. Anyone that's hungry right now knows what's up. You might not be hungry yet, so you're trying to pretend like it's not the case yet. Okay, fine, But go take a look. Go and take a look. All under the guise of pandemic infinity war. But sadly, for most of us, this is not a fucking movie. This is our lives. So then, what are you gonna do about that? Like, I get if you're comfortable. I get if you're a leftist and your guys in the office right now. So you thinking it's all good, but take a step back for a second and look at that. What are you gonna do about that? What can you do about that? The news, straight up and down, don't do news. One more example of the real rights. Fuck this mask or not mask shit. Julian Assange, perfect example, because not enough people talk about it. I was just on the radio one, and they're talking about Britney Spears, and that's a sad case, but they're talking about Britney Spears, and they're talking about the baby and stuff like that. But Julian Assange has been in prison for over a year now, more, right? Yeah, about over a year now. The main witness that allowed them to have some sense of a case, that's the U.S. If you're not familiar, Julian Assange ran WikiLeaks. Was abducted. I'm gonna say abducted, right? They've had him incarcerated for hacking when he did not hack. They're charged. No, they're not even for the hack. They're not even charging him for hacking. He's been incarcerated while going through trial, right? With no bail. What is that? He's not a U.S. citizen. And the charges, in case you don't know, this is the most important part, for treason. How do you commit treason for releasing, for one, the same stories that other journalists in the U.S. Released, the same story that you released, because they got it from you in the first place. They released it. But you are being charged with treason, but you are not an American citizen. How is that possible? again, pandemic infinity war, because as far as you know, I guarantee you, if you are not in the know and you've heard of it, you probably just heard, oh yeah, he's a hacker and he stole these treasonous and he put lives at risk. No, here's what really happened. He showed that our military was, and I'm prior military, I'm prior army, and I've been to Iraq 3 times, Afghanistan twice, Kosovo and other places, right? As a civilian contractor and as military, right? So fine, that's that. He showed that we were wholesale killing people, civilians, so committing war crimes. Now, you don't hear nothing about the war crimes. There's no trial for the war crimes that were committed, but the journalist, he's a journalist, I don't care what you think, he's a journalist who published the information showing this, is being charged with treason, right? And tried by a country that he does not belong to for a country that he's not belonged to. And you've heard nothing about it. Nothing about it. Oh, and most important, this is the part I was leading to, and I'll end this. The main witness who's working with American intelligence to an American legal system, justice system, whatever, to put these charges on him in the first place, came back and said I was lying because they offered me immunity. Also, that person is like a criminal. Like, I'm not even gonna get into all the pedophile shit and the money stealing shit and all the shit that this person did, right? But here's the main point. The main witness came back and said that they were lying and had said that everything that they attested to was a lie. How then do you have a case? Do you want better? The U.S. has just appealed and been given the right to appeal. Given the right to appeal to keep him, and to continue on with this bullshit trial. In spite of not really having a case, in spite of not really having the witness, in spite of the witness coming forward and saying they're lying, the only witness, the real witness, right? How is that? This is what's going on right now. And you're not hearing any of it from the media. Not at all. Your news is not telling you anything. Only thing they're telling you is that COVID is killing everybody. At the same time telling you that, you know, if you get COVID, you got like a 1 in 1,000 chance of catching it, first of all, and even a larger chance of dying from it, right? But then at the same time telling you if you catch it, that you're going to kill everybody if you're not vaccinated. With no concern, no consideration of the original point of whether or not, you never hear any stats on the unvaccinated who've already had it and developed antibodies. Never hear that. They never talk about that. It's just, are you vaccinated or are you not vaccinated, nigga? Like, which one is it, right? Which one is it? Are you buying the Nikes or are you buying the motherfucking Adidas? Which one are you going to buy? Which one, goddammit? You see what I'm saying? Are you going to get popcorn for this movie? You going to get some Raisinets for this movie? Are you going to go to the IMAX? What you going to pay for? Because you got to pay for one of them. That's what we selling. You don't get to sit out of it. You don't get to not spend the money. We want the money. Give us the money. That's what it is, right? I don't know, man. I just found that I just find that conversation that we had and the thought of it and what they were able to do as just, man. If I was watching the movie, because I like villains. If I was watching the movie, I'd be like, damn, that's a cold ass bad guy talking about the empire, talking about the powers that be, talking about the mainstream media, talking about the ruling class. I would say that's a cold ass bad guy right there. I would probably be rooting for him if it was a movie. But this is my fucking life. This is your life. So what you gonna do about it? I don't know. That's it. I'm out.